go. Okay, welcome back everyone. Mr. Minority here with another video. Hope you guys are doing nothing short of awesome. We're here with another Watcher of Realms video because the first one was decently popular. You know, I've been grinding away at this game, and so, yeah, sorry about the background. I apologize for it. I've been apologizing for it, I guess, in every video. But yeah, today's video, we'll be doing a top 3 champions in each class. For kind of the, I was going to do the early game, but I can kind of the early game. There's not really any kind of defined, you know, this is where you start the mid game, this is where you reach the end game. I'm pretty sure I'm kind of in that early mid game stage. I just finished the storyline. Just got Volca yesterday. Cool. So I think I'm, you know, well past the early game, so I can kind of comment on it. I'm going to be rating them in terms of my pulls, right? Because everyone gets different pulls. So while you may get better pulls in one class, I may get worse pulls in the same class, and etc. So just kind of as a spoiler alert, for instance, for me with defenders, it was pretty bad. For the first like 2 or 3 weeks, I didn't get a defender, so I just had Rex. I was just using Rex. So yeah, so I'm going to rank in terms of class, and stay tuned to the end of the video. I'm going to be also doing some pulls, you know, got the special summoning going on here, ×2, so we'll do one of those, and we have a good number of these as well that we'll do, so stay tuned to the end, we'll do some of that as well. I was trying to look up some information. I guess today the news dropped about like a new guild boss and everything, so that's cool. Probably won't be going over that because by the time this video comes out, it'll probably already be out, the content, so, and just as a heads up, that is something pretty cool. So, we're gonna start with, again, this is kind of the early game. I would say maybe like the first few weeks to a month. Again, it kind of depends how much you play it. I did quite a bit of hours, you know, logged in quite a few hours for those weeks, but everyone's different, so I can't really put an official timeline on it. But in terms of my specific account, Defenders was the worst, so we'll start with Defenders. We're gonna go up the list as we you know, go from here. So we're gonna filter by Defender. Just got pretty recently, a week ago. My Defenders, again, for the first 2 or 3 weeks, I didn't get any Defenders in terms of pulls. I actually will do kind of an honorable mention here, or dishonorable mention, I don't know. I've heard that this guy is good. Jorge, how do you pronounce his name? I'm not a fan. Let me get download this for this. He's interesting, but I just, for a tank, I don't think he does as well as some of the others. Cool design, you know, obviously he's kind of like one of those soldiers in Tide, but I don't know. It just, he does a decent amount of damage, you know, I'll give him that for a defender, but also I don't build some of these guys to the fullest extent. Obviously, I'm just beginning, so, you know, feel free to comment down below and tear me apart. No, don't tear me apart, but, you know, say do this and do that. And then, by the way, this game also is really, I think, in my opinion, a little bit too dependent on gear. It's kind of nice because you can just swap gear to any other character. It doesn't matter, you know, the class or anything. So it's kind of nice, but at the same time, it's not nice in the sense of like it's more gear dependent than character dependent. But whatever, that's a bit of a knock against it. But I'm not gonna knock this game because it's a pretty cool game. Pretty cool game. So number 3 again. I'll do 3 from each class, starting at the worst. I would say Rex. Just mention Rex. You start out with him. He is actually not too bad. You know, you can actually use him for a decent amount. One of the things that stands out about him, in my opinion, is the stun. The stun is really nice work because, again, as a tank, you're not really there to typically, again, depending on the tank, dish out the damage. You're there to stop the, you know, flow of enemies, and then have others, you know, the marksmen and the mages, etc., potentially another fighter, do the damage. So the stun is really nice. I would say that's probably the biggest thing about him. Other than that, you know, he's okay. Again, I didn't have a lot to work with, so I had to use Rex. Coming in number 2, I'm gonna go ahead and say Jorge. Again, I got him kind of earlier on. I'd say maybe the 2nd or 3rd week. Didn't build him right away. He does a decent amount of area, you know, damage to you know, the waves, but just in terms of what he needs to do as a tank, I think it is a little lacking. You know, he doesn't have quite the same. So that's obviously the gear is not going to be the best on him. That I have.
United we fight.
As much, but
The
you know,
Deadlands
the
working.
HP,
United we
you know,
Deadlands
the
working.
attack and
United
everything.
we
It's a little on the
Deadlands work is
lacking
never
side.
done.
Obviously, again, I haven't invested a whole lot in him, especially with some of the new tanks I've gotten. But Jorge is decent. Not really a whole lot to say about him. I didn't use him quite as much, especially as Rex. I kind of went to him a little bit, didn't really like how he performed, and then went to, within I think it was the third or fourth week, I got someone named Isolde or Isolde. I don't know how to pronounce any of these names. And I'm still a user to this day. But some of I'm starting to switch over more to Olog. But Isolde would be number one, and I've used her, I would say, the most of any other tank in the game, especially in the early game. Got her decent early on. She is, of course, a Lord, so she has that nice bonus as well. But she is a tank. You know, she's going to sit there and she's going to defend. The damage reduction to allies is really nice. You also get this defense bonus when you stack. But she does a terrible attack. You know, even Rex and of course Jorge are going to do much more damage to her. But again, she's a tank. That's not your primary objective, right? If you can do extra damage, like some others, that's great. But the primary objective is to stop the enemy and let others, get the damage dealt, and you soak up the damage. So I really like Isolde. Again, it just helps even that she is a Lord. So pretty good defender, and I would say number one. And she also kind of still holds up. Again, I kind of switch out depending on the makeup of my team. Like if I'm doing a more chaotic team, I might go Baron. If there's some boss that does a lot of damage, I might switch over to Trust.
May the sun melt
You can tell I
their
still don't have
evil.
the absolute best defenders, and of course Olog is given to you, so he's really good for just like straight out tanking it. But
the sun
especially if I got a good number of, I think Northerners is what she is. Then which I do have a good amount of Northerners. Isolde is good, so she's going to be number one. So Defender, that was the worst class. It took me a while to get some good pulls. The next one, I would say, and even now, I don't think I have the best characters or champions, is Marksman. Now, there are some here, which I do need to invest in more, which are pretty good, but they're epic. So I'm going to go with just kind of early game again. Remember that. So the worst, and I got her pretty early on, so that's why I'm including her in the early game. She's a legendary, though, Allura.
Arrows for my foes,
So
and a light for
Allura
my
is
friends.
kind of interesting. She does not deal that much damage. Okay, she's not a huge damage disher out of her, which is actually, if you see my Marksman, is kind of typically the theme. There's not a lot of dishing out damage. Again, two kind of exceptions here-ish. Maybe a third-ish, but haven't invested them as much because I just got them a bit more recently. So there is that as an excuse. But yeah, so Allura, though, again, used her a lot in the campaign. Her gimmick, the thing that's really nice about her, is she's invisible. So she is untargetable. Now, when she uses her ultimate, then of course she is targetable. But that is really useful for her, is to just basically be untargetable again in the campaign. That's something that's really nice. So she was kind of staple there, but again, doesn't dish out the most damage, but she's kind of nice to be on her lonesome. She actually, I think, does more damage when she doesn't have an ally in range. But yeah, she'll get more crits when she's on herself. So yeah, she's number 3. I would rate her probably about 7 out of 10. Sorry, I forgot to. Oh my goodness, I forgot to rate these guys. Let me quickly go back. I would say Rex, I would give a 5 out of 10. Jorge also 5 out of 10. Isolde, though, I would give an 8 out of 10. She's solid. She is solid. And again, if I build her better, I'll be going higher up. Allura, I'm going to give a 7 out of 10. I think there's a lot to be desired in terms of DPS, but for her particular niche, for her role, she performs well as kind of untargetable. Some extra damage to soften them up, the targets, before they reach the end point. Next would be Theowen. This is something that someone that you get regularly through progression. So that's kind of nice. I would also give him a 7 out of 10. He's decent. He lacks a little bit in the damage area, but he does have some good crowd control, and you know, kind of a bit of a spoiler alert. You know, he paired with Mari was just really nice. You know, kind of in the early game because they really helped to you know, slow, do that crowd control. So yeah, pretty cool character. I still use him from time to time, but definitely again a little bit lacking in the damage department. But but has some good slow, and then especially again paired with someone like Mari who has even better slow, then they really, you know, kind of rack up the damage just by virtue of the target always being in front of them. But I would say, and this guy gets quite a bit of lack of love.
These waters of impurities.
Razak. I got him very early on. He was my 3rd legendary. And he's not ranked typically that high, but man, he has just done a lot for my account. Again, I pulled him very early, so that kind of helps. Very good AoE damage. His soul-eating fish really dish out the damage, you know. Now, it is a little bit RNG-ish, I will say, because, you know, there's a 30% chance. That's one kind of negative thing about him. It's kind of also positive, I guess, because if you try and beat a stage and you fail with him kind of as maybe the main damage dealer, well, it's like, well, okay, maybe I just didn't get as many soul-eating fish, and you just try again and maybe you beat it. So kind of negative positive. So a bit RNG-ish, but a great AoE, especially. I remember when I first did his used his ultimate and yeah, this ultimate right here, and when I saw the damage, like, crap, that's a lot of damage. So yeah, he has some pretty good burst as well in that, especially when you awaken him. Obviously, you know, I'm still in the kind of, you know, early stages of mid game, I would say, so awakening for legendaries is not really going to be something. Yeah, so pretty good overall. He'd be my number 1. I would still say he's my number 1. I'm not a big fan of Nyx, but I didn't get her in the earlier game, so I won't talk about Nyx right now. I'm definitely building her wrong as well. So, yeah, I think that would do it for the marksman. Number 3 class in terms of the pulls, I would say for my early game would be mages.
4-hour research begins.
Didn't get a whole lot of mages early on, and then started kind of getting them as they got through. However, actually my first legendary was a mage. One of the worst legendaries, as the consensus goes, but yeah. We're going to do mages next. So I'm actually going to scroll all the way down to Voltus as my number 3 mage. Voltus actually, I think he got kicked out kind of early, but he was pretty good for what he was doing, you know, in the early game. The thing about him is he just attacks a lot of guys, right? So he has a continuous damage that, or not continuous, but in the sense of, like, you know, always damaging multiple guys, so that's really kind of nice. Strikes up to 5 enemies, but is, you know, he is obviously, he's all the way down here, rare, you know, he's weaker. You know, he's not gonna, when you need that burst or when you need actually high damage, he's not really gonna do it. But again, the electricity and a chance to balance all that stuff, you know, it's pretty solid, especially for the early game. So yeah, he would be my number 3 for the early game. I would say a 7 out of 10, you know, or a 5 out of 10, excuse me, 5 out of 10. 5 out of 10. Very average. And most of these guys that you begin with are pretty average, standard, that sort of thing. Mari. So, Mari. I like her, and then she all of a sudden kind of fell off a cliff for me. I think maybe I'm just not using her right. She's really good for the slow. You know, obviously that's her kind of shtick, that sort of thing. She's the ultimate crowd control, right? You know, she can not only slow a lot and multiple targets, but also freeze. She just doesn't dish out the damage, and it's kind of, you know, when I'm getting into the later game, I find it's kind of annoying to have to put her out, and then another mage or another marksman to try to, you know, whereas someone else, like maybe a Greed, can well, he's of course potential either slow or burning or whatever, could do that and dish out damage as well. So still, Mari really pulled her weight in the early game. I would give her 7 out of 10. Again, her married with Theowen is just a really good combination for slowing the enemies and being able just to attack them and deal out the damage over time, because they just let them sit in front of them the whole time because they have so much slow. So really good combination. Again, I give her 6 out of 10 or so. The best, I hate giving him the top tier because he is not that good, especially for a legendary. But he is a legendary. The thing about this game is typically, the legendaries really outshine the epics. Again, depends on which ones you're talking about. But I got him. He was my very first legendary, so at the time he did kind of shine. And that is Shamir, or Shamar, or whatever his name is, hard to pronounce it. Again, seen as one of the worst legendaries, typically. Cratch maybe a little worse, and there's some others who are a little lower, but pretty mediocre, I would say. But he is a legendary again, he was my first legendary, so he has this drowning ability. And it takes a while for him to charge it up, actually, once he gets his, rage fully regenerated, everything. So, he does some decent damage to one target, and maybe a little bit, residual damage to others, but not very good. But again, if you get him in the early game, which I did, this is my personal account kind of, bias here, then, he would be number 1. But I'd still, right now, I'd give him a 6 out of 10. If you get him early game, he can, pull some weight, but there are far better mages out there. But yeah, I didn't get them in the early game. So yeah, that is mages, the second best class, and this is I would say by far the battle for the bottom of the board was the easiest with the defenders. Mages and marksmen, I could kind of go back and forth. The next two were kind of by far the best. One of them is by far the best of the other one, though. Next one's going to be fighters, number 2 class. So the fighter class, I'm just going to start off at number 3, and that's Ein. And the only reason I'm putting him here in the top 3 of my particular pulls is because of his range, and he's a lord. He was nice to set up behind the defender. Again, typically Rex in the early game. I got him pretty early on. And he actually kind of replaced this, the dwarf guy, what's his name? Who's not so good. He replaced him as the fighter, and then he would sit behind him and have that range. So the range is nice, because you don't really have to, take up another slot if you only have one defense space. And of course, where it falls apart is if you have multiple defenders, and then you don't have another defender, you need him. He's not that good at all in terms of survivability. His damage is not that great either, but again, if he's sitting behind your defender and can do something, that there is that, because he can attack with that range. And again, as I mentioned before, he is the lord. So if you do have the Watchers, which you typically tend to get a lot of Watchers as a beginning account, then he gives that extra boost. But yeah, I would just say very low self-sustainability, as I kind of hinted at before. So he would be number 3 on my list, and I give him a solid 5 out of 10. Distinctly just like pretty mediocre. But we're gonna go really high up here, and I got her pretty early on. Is Valkyra. I was lucky to guess her, and she completely, as soon as I got her, I was like, okay, she's completely replacing Ein. Besides the Lord skill, whatever he does, she does, and it's better in spades. She has more range, she does more damage, she also has the revive, which is really nice. She can also hit air targets as well, at least with her ultimate, I believe. So yeah, the revive thing is really big. So she's, interestingly enough, kind of supportive, and not as much of a straight just damage dealer. So that is kind of interesting about her. But yeah, she do have the multiple attacks and the ally revive and the range. So strong, but I would say not your typical fighter. She's again a little bit more of the support in there, and great to put behind the defender. So I still use her. She's really good. The legendary, obviously, would be nice to awaken her, but again, I'm still a beginning account here, still a noob, so just gotta wait a little bit until I get some awakenings. The number 1 fighter, you guys probably know what it is, and it's nice to say this because this is actually someone that you do get for free, and that is Wrath. Wrath has carried my accounts so much, and again, I have a feeling it's probably the same for many other people, at least especially in the early to mid game, and he's still carrying it. I can kind of see now where he's starting to fade a little bit, but he's still really good. A few things to mention about him. I'll give Valkyrie 9 out of 10.
Humanity never falls.
But Wrath, I'll give it 10 out of 10. Really, really good for the early, especially early game. And you get him for free. I actually think I pulled him. I pulled him like the first week, and then I was able to awaken him. Like I think you get him the second week or something for the sign-in. So I was able to awaken him immediately or very quickly. He is a Lord, so you get the extra boost. You don't typically get a lot of Nightmares early game in terms of free stuff besides Wrath, so there's not a whole lot that I got, but eventually it does become more worthwhile. And then he has a lot of continuous good damage, and if you awaken him, which again is a little bit easier because you get 2 copies of him at least, and then you get I invested personally a lot with him with the Soul Stones I got, so I was able to awaken him to level 5. Which he heals himself. So basically, you can put him in the corner, not put a healer next to him, and he can just go to town. So, really good, incredible self-sustain because of that. So, Wrath, I would say, takes an easy number 1. I'd probably say for my entire account, he's carried it the most out of the entire any one champion. So, really, really great. He's actually still, I think, my highest BP, but that's going to be changing here pretty soon. We got some creeping up on him. So yeah, Wrath is number 1. The best class that I got for my personal accounts is the last one left. We say best for last, and that is the healers. Oh my goodness, my accounts were so good when it came to healers. Now actually, I haven't gotten really any since then. So I started out, with the basics. I got Lily pretty quickly, and then within a week, I think, I got Vortex, and 2 days later, or maybe a day later, I got Evelyn. So I was like, and as soon as I saw her, I was like, holy crap. So my account was, the endurance, whatever raids that you do, I launched up those quick because my heals were just so good. And you can see, I actually got her awakened. She's the only one who's been awakened. So yeah, we're gonna kind of reveal here who are the top 3 healers in the top class for my personal account, and we're gonna go first with Lily, who I kind of wanted to be better than she was, because I like fairies, they're pretty cool, but she's not that good. I'm giving her a 4 out of 10. In fact, in the basic state of where I'm actually thinking it was better, at least again where I've kind of loaded up everything. A little bit of RNG, I think, associated with her. I actually haven't even unlocked this promotion grade because, again, I got the other healers pretty quickly, so I kind of switched pretty quickly. But you got the Thorny Protection to save an ally, and that's kind of, I guess, her main saving point. But, yeah, not very good. Not very good at all. She's primarily used right now for the faction trial because I don't have another healer for the piercers, I believe. Yeah, piercers. So yeah, she's kind of still sitting there. But yeah, she would come in at number 3. Number 2, I think this is going to be a pretty easy list for you guys to deduce based on mine, and that's going to be Vortex. I still use Vortex. I could also awaken him, but I'm kind of using that for the Abomination thing. I don't know if that's worth it. I don't know. It's a lot to fuse. Anyway, that's a sidetrack. But Vortex, really good, really big range, really nice to be able to, reach all those guys, provide shielding as well. Shields. And there's lots of characters with abilities like that have to do with shields, and then also artifacts, which you have the shield activated, that sort of thing. I think he's HP based healing, yeah, and it's just the shield thing's really nice. Where if you heal an ally and it's excess of what their HP, max HP is, then it added as shield, so you can really, just stack up, the heals with him. So really nice. Now I will say at first I did struggle with him because he actually has the lowest defense of all the epic healers, besides Hollow, which you don't see a Hollow there. So I did notice that, and I kind of had to keep that in mind. He did, when someone targeted him, he did die kind of quickly. So that is one negative about him. You just, you just gotta make him a bit more survivable, and then you are good. So yeah, not great at survival at first, but number one, and I would say he's a 8 out of 10. I'm not as crazy about him as some of the other people are, but he is really good. He is really good. Quite a great healer to get, especially in the early game as I did. And then I'm gonna go with the best healer in the early game, at least for my account, and that is
For mother.
Elowen. If I had to do a number 2 carrier after Wrath, it would be Elowen. No thoughts and ors about it. Just really good healer, and it's obvious, everyone else thinks she's really good too. When I saw that Wood Elf heal for the first time, chef's kiss, yeah. She has debuffs, she has nice rage regen that's consistent, and then of course that Wood Elf, which heals a ton, but not only that, it also heals off in the distance, so you could, have her healing multiple guys because she heals multiple. I think it's like up to 3 or something. And then you also will have, coverage potentially if you have another, defender or wrath, whatever, off somewhere else, and you can get a Wood Elf, to go over there and heal them massively, for that span of, I think it's 10 seconds or something like that, yeah. So, really good healer. Healers are the best class that I got in the early game for my account. And yeah, it really showed. I got, she was my second legendary, not too long after, very closely after Shamir. And yeah, and she was also my first awakened legendary. I think she got awakened about a week or so ago, week and a half ago. So, yeah, that is the ranking. So yeah, now, as I promised you, for those of you who stayed to the end of the video, we're going to do a few polls here. We are going to do a few polls after we get past these nice adverts. Let's go ahead and get that nice little idle reward. So, we got some summoning to do. So, we're going to go for the ×2 over here. I'm not going to go for this because I'm not going to probably get them. Who knows? I mean, those are decent characters. I like Laurel. I already have these and I like to awaken them, Aatrox and Baron. But Laurel would be nice. Of course, I'm going to ignore the ledges because I'm not going to get that pull. But Kai's not good as from what I've heard. So let's go ahead and do 2. Let's do 20 of these. Let's do 2 of these quick polls. Let's see what we get. We got nothing. We got nothing. Luck of the draw. RB. Kook. Yeah. And we got some of that. We're gonna do another one, and then we're gonna do the nice, good old the poll something crystal. We got nothing again. Wow. Thanks for tuning in, guys. We're getting duds here. We're getting duds. Okay, so we are going to now do the one that actually does something. And let's see what it goes. We're gonna get a legendary. Nope.
So many deceived young
that's mediocre.
souls.
Sorry, guys. Yeah, but hopefully, as we continue the account, I keep playing this game. We'll get up there. We'll start doing the 10, super summoning crystals and everything. We'll get better pulls. But yeah, that was quite mediocre as that goes. So, thank you for tuning in. Again, these were the top 3 of every class for the early game. In terms of my account. Again, the polls are going to be different for everyone, so you could pull, freaking Silas at the beginning, and you'd have really, really great marksmen, etc., etc. So every count's going to be a little different. Again, I think I would be past the early game point, but let me know what you guys think and what classes you got best, what champions you got that really helped you to pull ahead in the comment section down below. But yeah, like, subscribe. We'll see how this Watcher of Realms thing is going. I'm enjoying this game, and I might stick with it. So take care, and I'll see you in the next one.